Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan and Luke. We're here to talk about the Challenge 40 Battle of the Eras Episode 0 launch special. We weren't sure if we were going to do a podcast about it. We decided to do it last minute. I'm joined by my Southern co-host, Luke Muncie.
What's up, guys?
Our Vermontian co-host, Zoe Trimboli, is on an undisclosed island.
Yeah.
Uh, Half jokingly,
Yeah, she actually is using the
she'll be
bathroom
back.
outside,
Yeah, she'll
surviving
be back
if you catch our flow.
She'll be back with us next week for episode 1. Like that's literally how last minute we were because I was just like, "Hey, do you guys want to do a podcast about this episode 0?" And looks like I'm down. And yeah, here we are. I'll say this: big immediate takeaway. We're gonna jump right into it. Why the hell was this not episode 1?
Yeah, and they've not done this consistently, but they've done it enough the past 5 seasons here and there. They've had this launch special where if you really want to invest in people, which I know that the common fan knows all these people anyways, but if you want to invest in these people, this is such a good episode just to open the floodgates. Here's what's going on. Here's the early interactions. Here are the things that you're probably actually looking to see, but instead it's labeled as episode 0 that a lot of people I've even seen on Twitter be like, I'm not watching that. It's a launch special. It's like, no, it's integral to your understanding of the season.
And that's how I react to it every time. Is that I hear the words launch special, oh, it's not episode 1, it's not that important. But then I watch this episode and I'm like, seems like very crucial information. It also sets the stage and tells you who all these 40 people are. It gets you excited, it gets you emotional. And then I feel like next week we're just gonna be like, oh, I forgot this person's on the show. Oh, I forgot this person's on the show. This cast special told you who all 40 people are. It made you invested in all of them. Did a great job.
I was a big fan. I know that Zoe's not here, but she watched it and she immediately texted and was like, whoa, I love this. Is the rest of the season going to be like this? Because she's spoiler free. And I said, I don't know, but I thought it was great. And not to talk too much about last season, but even season 39 had their own launch special where we met the cast and they did the first daily. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you could structure things better, or I'm sure you're about to say, have a really long premiere, okay, where you have this launch special with part of episode 1, because the launch special is just an hour.
Invasion had a 2-part premiere. I think people forget about that. That was they dropped the first episode where it's all of them kind of showing up, living on the little shelter island type place, and then they had the first daily challenge, the elimination, and it was 2 hours, and it did a really good job of setting stage. You could have done that with this season. I mean, you could cut into some ridiculousness, just drop us, a 2.5 hour premiere. People would love that, especially if it's just introducing us and then we get competition. If you just want to watch the competition aspect, just don't even watch the first hour.
Yeah. And that way, just in case episode 1 is kind of drug out, you're not waiting a whole other week for episode 2. I don't know. I think a 2-part premiere would have been great.
This episode, though, come into the house, and I love the way they open this up with everyone. It's just they're all just so dressed so well. Everyone is just looking so glamorous, so beautiful. And it's, if you've ever been to Challenge Mania events and you see these reality TV personalities in person, you understand why they're on reality TV, because those people are they're prettier than your everyday pretty person. And it's crazy to see.
Yeah, you're drawn to them. They've got really cool auras, and to see, I think this is just almost the challenge nerd in me, but I don't think it is. Just to see even these people from different eras interacting was so fun. I'll throw out right off the bat, Katie and Horacio. It's
that's incredible.
It just was so strange to me to see these two people interacting, but that's just normal. And I think the hope of seeing them on a season together is just really cool and could get old school and new school fans alike either excited or invested. I really like how they started this off.
Yeah, and they go era by era. We start with era 1, and let's talk about that Katie Horacio scene, because I thought that was just Katie's looking phenomenal. Katie looked amazing in her dress, and then her and Horacio is a dynamic I would never it's such a fantasy interaction of who even wanted it until it's been put in front of us. She's like, oh, I was on road rules, and he's like, I don't know what that is. Um, but he's just so kind, and it's weird too because like Katie is such a drama like reality TV personality, and he's all pure competition. But they did kind of have similar stories, you know. Like Katie back in the day, she went on the Inferno. She went to a bunch of eliminations. Her whole team wanted her out. Horacio, his rookie season, went to 5 eliminations. So in ways they're similar, but just also so different.
It was really cool. I had to laugh at him saying, "I'm 27," and her being like, "I could be your mom," and me doing the quick math and like, not really, but even still, like maybe it just is really cool. And part of me, I'm going to vocalize this now because we're going to talk about lots of these interactions. Part of me thought, do you think this was set up by production to like get these cool shots? And I don't. I really just feel like it was genuine and these people were mingling and whatever drew Horacio to Katie, thank you. Because it was really just something, it was a sight to see.
Man, everyone else just they all look so good. Honestly, like everyone was dressed so well that when someone was maybe didn't have the best outfit or was just wearing a tank top, it kind of stood out to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like, who did someone in Era One have a tank top on?
I don't think no, not an arrow. I think it was I think Nehemiah in Era Two. I think he had a
He
jacket and
was
he just went
shirtless.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just went shirtless at one point. I think Cory had just the tank top, and I think Josh had just the tank top at one point.
Yeah. Definitely some interesting looks, both at this party and confessional wise, which makes me excited just because I love odd confessional looks. And if you listen to our podcast that Alan released this past week about our draft, like all the crazy kooky things in there, I think we're going to get a lot of fun discussion about that. But yeah, as far as Era One goes, yeah, I thought it was really cool. I really don't know why I love seeing Mark Long so much because it's not like am a big fan. I think he's a great human, but I have no attachment. But just something about this season probably would not have come to fruition had he not pushed so hard for the OG season. Like this is a product of Mark Long, and I thought it was really cool that he got to see that in action.
Yeah, and when I was doing my player previews for season, like all my player previews, there's so many times where I'm just writing like I can't believe I'm writing a player preview for this person who, like 5 years ago, the concept of them ever being on a challenge season again was like insane, and now it just we got Katie back on the show, we got Rachel back on the show, we got Jody back on the show, even Kellyanne, who is still like young, like her name was there, Naya, Avery, like there's so many people here who are here because of Mark.
Yes, and speaking of age and people we thought would never be back, I want to say too, shout out to Alan's tweet. I sent it to several people, and I had people send it to me because it is crazy that Rachel Robinson from Era One is 41 years old, whereas Jenny West from Era Four is 37. They're but 4 years apart. And when I think of the two, they seem ages apart just because of how the show is structured. I don't even know what to make of it that we're casting poorly these days. We're not casting enough young people. But like, how is it that Rachel seemed old to me? I don't think that she's old, but I hope you see what I'm saying. And Jenny seems young, yet they're in the same age bracket.
I had another tweet too where it was Nerys is the youngest woman on this cast. She's 29. She's 29 and she's been around in reality TV in our lives for 7 years now. She's the same age as Coral when Coral was getting called old on the Gauntlet 3 and basically like pushed out of the challenge. That's our youngest person on this show.
Yeah, which I know people are going to comment and be like, on an era season, the ages are bound to be higher. Of course. But Nerys is the youngest woman, and she is being pushed as the next face of the show, one might say. It just is really strange how reality TV has changed. And in some senses, I understand maybe having a bunch of 18, 19, 20, 21 year olds in the house isn't great and they great TV. It's just strange. When you put the ages into perspective, it's really, really cool.
Was there anything else from Era 1 that stood out to you? I mean, I think we're gonna actually, you know what? Do you want to talk about CT now, or want to talk about the house tour?
Well, I was actually going to say something about CT, so maybe CT naturally, and I'll say this and let you take it away. This is not just about the house tour, but also just in general. CT has had in this special a couple emotional confessionals. about how like this is his 20th challenge. He makes some jokes about not having that many wins and such, but just that this is a home. That there are times in his life where things feel shaky, and he knows he can go here and kind of reset. And I don't know. I feel like with a lot of people with age, they become more vulnerable and emotional and talk about these things. And I think that's really cool of CT to admit that like my life gets rocky sometimes, and this is a way that I ground myself. It's much more genuine than like I'm the challenge, I'm whatever. It like gives more purpose behind it. I don't know. I thought it was really cool actually.
100%. We talked about, I think, before when we were doing our player stuff, or like when we were doing our draft, talking about Derek and Brad, how when they had their divorces, they came back on the challenge. CT just had his divorce. He's had a lot of stuff going on in his life, and it's like he's just really glad to be here, and he's taking it all in, and he doesn't take it for granted, which I think is like the best part of it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hate to say it just because we're so oversaturated with him, but like he is my favorite guy from Era One. Like I think casuals and fans of the show alike really love CT, whereas the same can't always be said for like the Johnny Bananas or the Wes. But CT really just has a lovable aspect to him.
I would even go as far to say that, like, watching this episode, I'd be like, why aren't we getting a CT spinoff? Like, just like a CT versus show where people take CT on and like certain stuff, where it's like I don't know, like, because he does have like that like charm to him where it feels like he is someone, like, you watch him on the show, it's like, oh, CT can literally do anything, whether it's physical, puzzles, eating. I don't know, just chopping up. He's just I like him on my TV stream.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, we had talked about previously in just like a breakdown of the season when we knew the cast. Will CT fit in with those old school people? Because he's been more heavily with the new school people currently. Will they see him as a target? But it seemed like they welcomed him in with open arms. So I think that's really cool.
Look great. Um, Era two now. Want to move into Era two?
Mm,
All right. And I think the headline for Era 2 is Carl versus Laurel, as it always is. The sisterhood that will never break up, except it will.
yeah,
Um,
right.
and Kara basically said exactly what we were saying in our finale recap for All Stars, where the moment Laurel won that final, she welcomed Kara back with open arms when she proved to everyone, like, okay, hey, I beat Kara. Um, and Kara's like, we're not even. We're not. And we're going to clash.
Yeah. And again, you might be listening and think, I love Kara. Me and Zoe necessarily have kind of fallen off a little bit. I'm so back on the Kara train. It's crazy. I think it's really bold of someone to be able to say, yeah, she's proven to be better than me. We'll just see what happens this go around. Laurel could not say the same, in my opinion. Seeing them together though just does make me feel sick. And it might be because we've already seen previews of like more berating happening, but it's like a toxic relationship you want people to just finally break free of. It's like, I know you love this person. I know there's lots of good history, but if it's cyclical and it happens every single time, I just wish they could have a break. Now, for the sake of our TV watching, yeah, I love it. But it was really interesting to get perspectives from Polly and Brad. Polly's perspective being Laurel is an awful human. She is not Kara's friend. She will do this again. I don't think she's an awful human by any stretch of the imagination. Do I think in this game she'll do it again? Duh. But Brad also did say this is kind of Kara's jam. She loves to be victim. And maybe it's because I'm on this upswing with Kara, but I'm like, I feel like she used to. I don't think on season 40, Kara is wanting to be the victim. I don't think she wants that.
You know, it's crazy. I completely 100% co-sign both Polly and Brad and Kara and Laurel and all what they're saying. Like, I think they're all justified from their own angles and stuff. Um, because like Polly is just literally like a caring boyfriend in this moment, and he's like, my girlfriend's being treated by like she's getting dunked on every time by Laurel, and I'm tired of seeing her getting dunked on, because she's a badass. And then Brad, I think there is like some substance to it because there was like a video of I think it was the Zach Nichols live podcast where Kara's talking about the final experience and it's like, oh well, I thought the stars would be like a 30-second advantage. I didn't think they'd let you skip whole portions of it. And she's like, you know what, Laurel, a win is a win. She can be the champion. I'll be the people's champion, which I felt, and like the crowd goes wild when she says that. And that to me is like she is kind of playing up to the fans in that type of way, like not playing the victim, but like
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
I
victim
see.
was the wrong. Yeah, yeah, and it's so that's why I say like all four of them, I hit upvote on all four of their statements, even
Yeah.
if like that does seem hypocritical by me, but it's like no, I see all angles of this.
No, I think that you bring a good point that all perspectives considered, they all have points. I don't know. I'm excited to see it unfold again. I just hope it doesn't become stale because we've already seen it get really, really bad. I don't know. But you're right. The headline is them. Like,
And you can tell MTV loves having Kara back because this is her first main season in a while. I mean, we just saw her on All Stars, but like throughout this trailer, they always, whenever something's going on, they just pan on Kara. There's a Kara face. There's a Kara smile because they know that's what so many people are watching for. Among this group of 40, I mean, she's clearly the female face. I don't know if she's the top player here, but she's clearly the female face of the show.
oh, absolutely. And really interesting. I'm going to be very impartial to Tori here. She was not being shown like the female face. It's like, okay, Kara's back. She got her scenes for sure, but it's really interesting. As far as the rest of the era goes, and we can jump around, so don't think I'm trying to close this out here because there's tons to talk about. But something that wasn't one of our talking points, but I think both of us were probably shocked when we saw it. They got interviewed by Davon and Devin, and specifically Era 2. Bananas himself was like, we're going to let the girls handle it. Like, look at how strong these girls are, echoing what everybody who has a voice about the challenge has been saying. But I was glad that he could admit that. Eh,
It's also kind of a silent dig at who his former male teammates are. But that women's side is, I mean, you got Laurel, Emily, and Cara, and you have Kellyanne, who's, as we said, probably the greatest female to never win, and then Aviv, who looks great.
Yeah. And is a champ. Like
And
her
is
her
yeah.
record looks great. I don't know if she's gonna like follow through. She could, but I thought that was an interesting thing. And you're right. It had so many different connotations that could be derived from it. And also really cool that because I didn't know that Davon and Devin were gonna be there.
No, I didn't either. They look great too. And we were talking about like why aren't they on the season, and they actually were in a way on the season.
I would love if this will come out after the episode, so whatever. Imagine they put out before like fake cast photos of them Wednesday for the launch special. It's like surprise on this season. That would really be hilarious. But it was cool to have them there because like it bolsters their podcast. They are competitors who, in their own right, like did have impact on their respective eras. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. They look great too. I would say the most interesting look of everyone there. I need to know whether you loved it or hated it. The Johnny Bananas banana blazer.
I expected nothing less. There are people who have to be on the nose with everything that they do in their life. He would be one of those people. I, I hate to say it, Cara Maria as well. Like I didn't expect her to have like tame hair and like simple jewelry and like a black dress. I knew what I was getting from her. Uh, the problem is, and I feel like Cara became this and luckily took a break. But for Bananas, he is just a caricature of himself. We're not going to get a real storyline from him. We're going to get a devious, you know, archetype of someone, but it's not going to be a real human. Some people love that. I sometimes find it funny, but like that's just who he is on these shows at this point.
Yeah, he looks like a young Mr. Monopoly man with the facial
Mhm.
hair.
Yep.
I when I first saw it, I thought this is the ugliest outfit of anyone here. And I thought about it more and more, and it's like I actually love it because I hate it so much. And it's like this is the Johnny Bananas who I love to hate. So it's like he checks the boxes here.
Yeah. We need somebody to hate. And I don't even hate him. Like, no one on this cast do I hate, but I need someone to root against. He's the perfect candidate every time.
Fully agree. Derek and Ryan also got to think more significant runtime on this trailer than I expected. And I actually did like Ryan had a confessional where he kind of was shitting on Era 4 at one point, where he's like, some like he's honestly kind of shitting on bananas in a way, where he's like, some of these people, like, I feel like they're just kind of caricatures and they're not really the reality TV that I like, which everyone knows I throw a lot of digs at Ryan's way. Co-sign what Ryan was saying here, even though I like most of who we have on Era 4, the way he was describing the modern challenge. Yeah, that's how fans feel too.
Yeah, I agree. He did have weird comments about like finding Polly attractive, which is not weird, but then talking about like basically stealing his OnlyFans from Derek, which I'm like, that's that's not. I don't know. I found that very strange because that's like against policy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna look away on that one. I'm just like, let's not. I
Well,
actually think I think it's weird they left that in the edit.
I do too, especially because, and I get that it's CBS versus MTV, but like I know that when USA 1 and 2 were filming, allegedly, if you had an OnlyFans, you were out of the running because they wanted to keep it like a certain image. Whereas on MTV, they're like, oh yeah, like we're going to vocalize that we're looking at these people's OnlyFans, which I'm fine with. Like I have no problems with people having OnlyFans. It's just funny how different the iterations truly are. But yeah,
Era 3?
yeah.
Era 3, and I mean that's I would say, is that our era or are you Era 4?
I'm era 3 just by a hair.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Can I just say this is the perfect segue for me to say this? I was talking to a friend recently about how bad the promo has been for this season. My first season was Dirty 30. I've said many times on this podcast, I've gone back and watched all the available seasons. I've purchased them so they can't be taken away. Many times, like several times, I do feel like I'm well equipped on the history of this show, starting with season 10. Before that, couldn't tell you a thing aside from what I've read online. But the reason I started watching Dirty 30 is because I saw a promo for it. Like, I, as someone who did not watch reality TV beyond Survivor and Are You the One, that was genuinely it. Happened to turn on my TV. It was still on MTV, and I saw a promo for the challenge, Dirty 30. And I was like, whoa, that looks really cool. Went on their Instagram, started looking through some things like this is something I could watch. If that would have been me, or season 40 had been that with me then, I would have just gotten that really strange commercial that's still airing on MTV right now that's so repetitive. I probably wouldn't have gotten into the challenge. So, awful segue to say that I'm disappointed in this, but technically I'm era 3 because Dirty 30 is included in that, which doesn't make sense to me. But
Hey, like that's a just we're airing grievances. Good segue just for a little bit because we're gonna talk about everything. We're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff. The promotion of this has been terrible. I mean, they have an event going on in LA, which I live by, but they announced it 3 days before. They got a club event on Friday night, and I'm just like, am I gonna drive out Friday night to LA? I don't know. Like, I see some of the people there, but it's all like, do I pay? Do I do this? I don't hear about anyone else going, so it's like, why would I want to go? Type stuff.
and it's a thing too where like had you known that 2 weeks ago, had I known 2 weeks ago, I might have considered going. Now it's
Yeah.
impossible. I can't get a flight to LA and take off work in
No.
that amount of time. And not that, well, I almost said not that I'm not the target audience. I am. Like,
I think doing it in LA is crazier. And I say this as a person from like I grew up in LA County. LA is a city that does not care about a lot of stuff. Like to get people to go out to an event like that on 3 days' notice when there's just so much other stuff like people are always doing, like the LA Rams have trouble getting people going out to the Super Bowl party after they win. Like to get someone out to a challenge event like 3 days in advance, that's insane.
and there's nowhere to like buy tickets. There's nothing about pricing, anything like that. It is very just lackluster for such a milestone season.
And the challenge main account has just stopped tweeting basically. Like they dropped the cast photos and they tweeted like 3 times in like a month. And I know that because I would go to the Twitter to grab a cast photo from all the promo I'm doing on my own.
Yeah.
basically. And it's like insane that like we have this season and they're not really even active online. It's so easy just to make it like it takes 10 seconds to write a tweet like, are you team Laurel or are you team Kara? Are you excited to see CT? And if you tweet something that basic, people are gonna react.
Yep. And even with like the clips we've been getting, which when they're sitting down watching clips, I enjoy that. However, if you don't know this, people, they were filming promo stuff for days waiting on Jordan to get there. And this is all we got. And even if you hadn't done that, you released this cast more than 40 days before the premiere. Why not take initiative that Allan did and every single day put out even just a minute clip of some highlights of each player? I can't think of a better way to bolster engagement or just have something to post than to do that.
It's not hard, especially when you have access to that footage. I'm actively trying to find this. I'm trying to find the stuff. You guys just have access to it. You guys will get in trouble. I'm taking the risk.
Yeah.
uh, there. Hey, as you said though, let's just move back into Era 3.
Yeah.
And there that is the funniest part about all this. They filmed all this promo stuff. They took a few days to move into the house because they were literally just waiting for Jordan to get there. Era 3 comes in and it's only 9 people because he's still not there yet. But they're all looking great. And Era 3, man, like John A's looking amazing, Amanda's looking amazing. It just I just felt well represented just seeing all these people. And then I think the biggest potential storyline of like drama we saw is Cory and Tony, where Cory is the one who calls Tony his rival and he says there's unfinished business there.
Yeah. To which I say, get your storyline. Because do I really feel that way? No, I don't feel like they're rivals, but I suppose we've not seen them back on together since. I can't blame him for getting a storyline, and it works for Tony as well. But I just feel like they're so far past Final Reckoning. I don't know.
But they never got to bury the hatchet really. And I so it is one of those things where that probably was the last real moment between them. Like, yes, they're at the reunion and stuff like that. But actually, I would say the reunion actually worsened the relationship because I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to the Cory versus Tony situation. We had our friend Allie with our draft take Tony #1 overall, and I think a lot of us bit our tongues where it's just like we thought that Tony in that situation really played victim
Yes.
and painted Cory in a light, and maybe like they didn't put Cory on the show for 2 seasons after that. And the rumor was because of like you get into a fight, you're not on the show for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Uh, and Cory might like legitimately think Tony kept him from getting money.
That's
Tony
true.
kept him from appearance checks.
That's very true. I mean, and that was the rumor, and it rang true for him and Kayla both. Like they both came back
Mhm.
Total Madness. Uh, same with, yeah. I mean, I think that's very possible. Even if they have squashed it, you won't forget that your pocket was taken from.
And that was just like, I would love to hear. I don't know. I think that Tony and Cory situation is like a lot more nuanced than people realize. I think
Yeah.
it was also just a crazy time to be alive on social media. I mean, I'm glad to see them. I mean, those are two guys we've been worried about because like, oh, Tony's in dad mode, Cory's in dad mode. Get into some drama, dad. Go for it.
Yeah. And random tidbit, I love that their first season together, or their first season ever, was both bloodlines.
Yeah.
Like, huh? I think it's going to be good. And even if my concern right now is that it's like almost a fake storyline, not fake, but just like unnecessary, I'd rather see that than like Bananas versus Devin again. Like, this is something new that they need to probably hash out.
For sure. Let's see. We're gonna talk more about Amanda and Tori later on.
I'll say
Other
something
Era
about
3.
I'll say something about John A really quick. That was just like a small thing, but it made me laugh. And it was when her and Michelle were having a conversation. And like, oh look, the last time we saw each other, we were both actively trying to get each other out of a game and almost did it. Like, how dumb of us. Because on USA 2, John A out of nowhere targeted Michelle because Wes, I think. Was it Wes?
Um,
No, Wes was on that season.
or I think Wes had also. I think they had both been told basically
Yeah.
like Michelle is shady.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So it was funny and, like, it's just a little thing that I had kind of forgotten, but it's like, "Oh, there are interwoven relationships everywhere on this cast." Even people who I thought there wouldn't be, I'm reminded often.
I mean, there was a scene, and nothing happened of it, but John A went to go sit next to Kellyanne, and I was like, oh, I was like locked into my TV because the last time we saw them on World Championships, they had beef. I thought they were gonna like talk about that, and then they just got drawn away to do something else. But that is like just there's just dynamics in this show that are going on that make me excited. We also saw Leroy get a video from Cam and the new baby, which like I Leroy left that house like 8 days after that baby was born, right? Like, it was very soon after.
Yes. Yes. And can I say, like, a little thing that's a little messed up? It's not about Leroy. I've
Yeah.
been listening to more challenge podcasts recently just because 'cause I've been driving. I love the show, like, I love consuming the
Mhm.
content. There are people who've been talking about this season, and they're like, "It's a disservice that MTV did not allow Cam to be on the season. Why would Cam decline this?" And I'm like, "If you're an actual fan of this show, like, you actually dedicate a podcast to it, wouldn't you know that she had just had a baby?" Side note, whatever.
Like, not just had a baby, like, had a baby, like, 2 weeks before.
Right. Like, huh? With that said, the video was really cool, and I think I just loved it. And like when she was like almost 10 years ago, like we were filming Vendettas, and I'm like, oh my gosh, was it that long ago? No, but
I know. I
but
look, I was only, like, aware of that because 'cause I'm like, "Don't make me that old. Don't make me" like, it has not been 10 years for me yet, because it has been, like, 7 or 8, but it's like, let's
yeah.
not get to 10 yet, because then that makes me feel really old.
Well, Dirty 30 came out in 2017, so I was like, there's no way it's been nearly 10 years. Um, I don't know, but I thought it was so cool, and I love John A's reaction because she's a mother who also has children at home, and I think it just was like I love seeing those raw moments.
And this is also John A's first MTV season since X's 2, which is just like she had, the tears in her eyes, but also like optimism after like dealing with Zach, and now she comes back after all these years, and she has the label of two-time champion,
Yeah,
and she's talking about herself like I think I'm one of the best, and I want to prove to people on here that I am one of the best, and I love that shit.
yeah, I do too. I do. And then Avery brought the house down. Uh, just kidding.
There's just so much Avery in this release party of just like shots of her just I don't even I like Avery, but it's just she's talking a lot for someone who really like can't believe she's here. And then I will give Naya some credit for being self-aware of she's like Naya openly admitted like I don't think I'm one of the strongest players here. I'm gonna have to really play a good social game.
I thought the same. Like, yes, play an aware game, and I believe she's going to, as we've seen in previews, that she's going to socialize.
Yeah. Moving to era 4 now.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give Ryan some credit again, just like you did. A lot of the interactions from some of them did feel like they were just for TV, and it makes me feel weird. Like Theo and Polly specifically, I don't know. And maybe that's just who they are, but
Want to talk about Paulie's shirt first? His confessional shirt.
want is a strange word. Will, I will. I just fear that he doesn't have a personality outside of Kara now, which is a little bit crazy because he didn't start wearing these fur coats and like these crop tops and like cut shirts and whatever. And he might be more comfortable with how he wants to dress after having been with Kara and just being himself. So I'm not knocking that. But would this version of himself had come forward had he not been with Kara? I don't know. And I feel like this feels bad to me to say, but it just feels like I liked the crazy weird Polly on Final Reckoning and World of Worlds 1, World of Worlds 2. He was obnoxious, but he just was like all about the game and whatever. And now it just feels like he's wanting to do like all the flares that Kara has to like make them more of a unified front. And I'm like, get off of her. Like, let her be her and you be you. But in the same breath, like I said, this might just be him becoming who he is.
I think Kara's style has actually gotten better with Polly. I don't know if his style has gotten better, but I think her style has gotten better because she's not wearing those Iron Man leggings anymore.
which were
That
horrible.
she's looking great. Him, hit or miss. I'm not gonna lie, because I saw people posted his like confessional outfit online when like the teaser came out, and my immediate thought was ridiculous. And then I watched him talk a little bit more, and I'm like, wait, the way that's ripped, it does kind of show off his bicep muscles really well. I'm kind of jealous and kind of want it now. So overall, I thought it was actually kind of a decent shirt. It was really showing off his arm muscles really well. I thought it highlighted them.
Yeah.
I, I will say what happened to all of his like USA type gear? Because he used to wear like a lot of American flag type stuff, and uh, I mean, it's so different now, and I feel like he's we haven't seen him compete, but I feel like the worse he's been competitively, the more outrageous the outfits have been to like distract you from he's not the same type of competitor.
Yeah. Yeah. I just I don't know. I do feel like it makes sense that he was involved in this era, even if he were not with Kara, because I mean, Final Reckoning, him and Natalie had a standout season. World of Worlds 1, he was a big star. World of Worlds 2, like, he got second place and then he had his pause. Like, he makes sense on this team, but I'm like, would he still have been invited if Kara weren't his girlfriend? Maybe. But you're right. He just seems to be getting worse and worse. I would like a redemption season. I don't know if it should be 40, but because it certainly wasn't USA 2. I'll continue on with the outrageousness. Jenny West, so glad that she's back. But just like, I don't think that she's vapid. I don't think that she is. But like every single thing we saw of her was just like her like running at the sky or like giggling strangely. And I'm like, this is a badass woman. And I get it's hard to like edit 40 people into a 1 hour special where we're really just getting 40 minutes of content, but not much from her. I think Michelle obviously is a standout because she's intelligent. We see her mingling, interacting. Um, I don't want to keep talking about everybody. I want you to be able to talk about people too, but
No, no, I mean I agree with you. Shell looked gorgeous out there today. We then had obviously the trio of Horacio, Nerys, and whatever they are. Kylan is walking really close to you right behind them as their
yeah,
platonic third.
yeah. Which, I'm so here for because they really were such a huge part of last season. Uh, it makes sense. And I do think they're three intelligent people, like tacked on with Michelle. Like they're very social players. Well, maybe not Horacio. He's silently social, but
Yeah, he's someone people are interested in. Like other cast members are interested in because he's like they've seen him compete and they've seen the highlights and the tweets. Like they're kind of just curious, like who is this person?
mhm, yeah. And I feel this. I feel that also a lot of the girls were like kind of eyeing Nerys, not negatively, but like, okay, here's this person who had this big season last season. You know, what's this going to be?
Yeah, we talked about it. Like she has the label of like the target of being a champion without the title of it. And she walks in. They saw her win all these eliminations. She's the youngest woman on the cast, as we said. She's shiny compared to the rest of them. They're looking at her like I remember when I was 29 2 years ago. Because also we're even though we're in era four, we're basically the same age.
Right.
We got to just bring it up again. Era four, oh, we're the future of the show when half of them are between 34 and 37. Which I'm not like, that's not old. We're close to 34 and 37 now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
well,
not really.
not that, not really, not really.
But I'm with you. Not that that's old. Like I don't think that's old, but in terms of who the show has cast previously, it is old. Uh, Now again, with this show evolving, like yes, we like the recurring people. They are going to age. It makes sense. But speaking of older people, Casey, who does not seem as old as she is,
Was she on this episode? I mean,
barely, barely.
I, I mean that's generous to say barely.
Yeah, I'll just say, but, but I don't know. Like she makes complete sense on this team more than forgive me. any of them actually. Like she's been on the most seasons. She's won. She's made finals. She's had great eliminations. She's had relationships, all the while being non-existent. Uh, I am excited to see her without Nani. Not that I don't like Nani, but I was listening to another podcast the other day where they're breaking down the cast and said that Casey's most entertaining season, in their opinion, was World Championship. And I'm like, wait, yeah, that she was more entertaining there than I've seen her as of yet.
Yeah.
And that's still with just a, I just can't see her bringing anything to the table, and this special proved that. We see Josh. We see you, Josh.
Apparently, he's filming. Is he's filming a show right now? Los 50.
Yeah.
It's a Spanish reality show. I'm secretly excited to see him on that. Which that doesn't have nothing to do with this premiere episode at all, or the launch episode.
Yeah. He's just going to provide something on every show he's on and get called for other shows.
Anything else left with Era 4? Olivia Nerys, I guess, is the
headline.
And even then, I don't even really know what's going to happen there, because I mean, Olivia is just so non-confrontational about it.
Yeah. I have a feeling that if they both stay long, they'll just hash it out quickly. I do think it's been put in our face like, hey, this is what you should be looking for, because that ties us into last season. But yeah, I just don't know what else to say about it that we haven't the past year, you know?
I've seen people say that it's like an overrated moment. I don't think it's an overrated moment at all. I think it was a huge betrayal compared to, like, I mean, season 38 was all about Horacio and Olivia. And so the fact that she turned her back on both him and her in that moment, giant. Like, because I was looking at my old tweets today, and it's like I had a tweet like Olivia smiling when after she broke her face but came back to the final, and I had a tweet and it had like 3,000 likes and it said, "That's the smile of the future face of the challenge," and Olivia feels so far away from that now.
Yeah, and you know, even given the context of her betraying Nerys and Horacio, the elimination prior, Nerys saved Olivia over Horacio, and kind of like when they showed those clips on like the YouTube promo, people were like, "Wait, what?" So we'll just see what happens. You've spoken a lot last season about like what is her trajectory on the show if she's not going to own it or if she's not going to talk about it. She really needs to do something this season, like make up with her, become a good friend again, confront Anissa, cool, or stand on it. It was good for my game, whatever. But you got to give us something.
I think legitimately the only way that Olivia could ever redeem herself is that if they get to the final five, it's the last elimination of the season. It's Emily Scrum or Laurel in a hall brawl, and Olivia says, "Hey, I'll take your place, Nerys," and she basically does the Nelson, because Nelson on Total Madness was an absolute dickhead to all the women the entire season. He volunteers for Cory, and then people love him again. That's like like that's the only way you could redeem yourself at this point.
I think you're exactly right. Next on our list, we have House Review.
They're living in a castle. They had a castle previously on Cutthroat. Seemed like a pretty cool experience. My big takeaway is everyone gets a king size bed or a queen size bed. I love that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's a cast member I've made fun of before. You could do the math, and I was like, you went from living in a full sized mattress from USA 2 to 39 twice in like you were there for 4 months in a tiny bed with someone 3 feet away from you. Nope, queen size matches this season.
Yeah, and no bunk beds, which I mean, there's a lot of people who probably said like, I won't stay in a bunk bed. I won't stay on the top bunk. And that might seem ludicrous, but I also feel like I feel a lot of people say that. I think that was cool. Now, cast members have gone on social media to say that they had to use outhouses in the house they were living in. And I'm like, is this a castle with no plumbing, or did the plumbing get messed up? Or like what happened there? And maybe we'll find out as the season progresses. I doubt it.
Well, they're living in a 16th century castle. That was
but my take
No,
is,
I'm kidding.
well, yeah, but like it clearly has electricity in it now and all these things. Like if you're gonna update that, why not just even put in one bathroom too? Then again, there's 40 people. I don't know. I think 40 people make sense for this cast, but it's really ambitious because people had said during Survivor season 40 not to have 40 people. There weren't 40 winners. Um, but like you could have had more than what they had. And yeah, you're not having to feed them or like give them places to use the bathroom. Whereas here you've got to cater to these people food, and I don't know. The house looks beautiful though.
For now.
Yeah, as Jenny said, there's a bar. I had to give subtitles. Uh, but I know that you're gonna say this. I'll lead us in. They had iconic challenge moments on the wall everywhere, which brought us a really cool moment.
Yeah, with CT looking at the photos of DM from the famous mud pit challenge from the duel, they did some really good editing where they're looking at the paintings and they edit in the actual footage from the moments. And I mean, you're not being emotional. I'm being everyone's being emotional watching that shit. I mean, how could you not tear up? I mean, CT. I
It felt like a gut punch for me, and I like wasn't expecting it. I know that when Zoe watched it, she texted me and she was like, "I am crying right now," because it was really heartfelt, and those are things that like draw us to this show. And we can go back to CT in a second, but I was really happy that they had that moment with Derek as well, because I think the DM and CT relationship overpowers all of her other relationships just when people think about it, which it makes sense. But Derek was her first partner and he was so good to her and he like heard her out. And I just think of when she told him about her diagnosis and he was just there for her. I was glad he had that moment as well. And then just the CCT, like you could just read his body language from behind that he was like, damn, I know. It makes me sad to say I know that man has so many like what ifs and just regrets and just like pain. It's it's sad, but I'm so glad we got to see it.
I'm so mad this wasn't episode one because like if I wish so many more people got to see this moment and it's just like by not calling it episode one we're missing out and this moment is also kind of a reminder that the challenge editors can be good at their job. Like this was
Yes.
such an impactful, well shot scene that I just man we need more people to see it because I got emotional and it got me excited for season 40.
Yeah, I agree. But I like that you just said that. It does give me a glimmer of hope that this will be edited maybe better. I think 39 was edited well. I thought USA
Yeah.
2 is edited well. I think USA, or not USA, All Stars 4 wasn't because some sensitive things at the beginning, and also just it became the Cara and Laurel show, which this might have potential to do. But it gives me hope that we'll have a good edit. But the house looks great.
Yeah, we also got some other scenes. We got to see the banana backpack. Was there another one after that too?
There honestly may have been, but I was just so focused on the DM scene.
Yeah, yeah. After this house party, among all this stuff going on, though, we did get a toast which I think actually happened before the house, but it's I think it feels like it should go after anyway.
Yeah.
Rachel Robinson gives a toast to the entire house on behalf of the women and the strong women in the show, and it's just one of the coolest toasts ever because you just. I mean, I think that's our biggest takeaway, seeing all these people come in, especially because, like, I mean, the women are just tossing on people with their dresses, so like they catch her eyes more. She's like underappreciated. She's like been taken for granted. Also, we're the people that bring the ratings, and great speech. She's an icon in this game. Spring in the fire.
Was so happy. Last week we podcasted with Allie and we discussed how Rachel was so nonchalant on All Stars 4, which is cool. It was really cool to see. And we were questioning what she would bring to this house. No, she's bringing it because, I mean, that's bold. It could piss some of the men off who have huge egos, but she's exactly right. And I love that she gave the toast to start off the season and not Johnny Bananas, which is like been the norm for several years now because he's not like the biggest name there at this point. He's not. And I love the montage of the women doing badass things with the music behind. Ashley was left out, but I absolutely loved it, and it was really cool to just watch the women in the crowd, like, hear her say these things and be like, "You know what? Yes. Like, let me empower like, I feel empowered right now to, like, have the most badass season I possibly can." So I thought that was perfect and just accurate.
The pan-ins were great. You see like Narice's eyes glow up thinking about her elimination wins. You see Kellyanne's eyes. You just see all these people's eyes glow up where like they think about their moments on this show. And you're mentioning that montage. The editors did a really good job with that montage. They did like they can do their job really well sometimes on this show. And like that was a good video package they put together. It was done so fluidly.
Yeah. Yeah, now that is they post clips from the show, like, on Twitter as it goes. I hope, and I feel certain they will post that. That'll get a lot of engagement.
For sure. We then just to kind of transition just a bit. You know what? We'll jump in between. But at one point, they go from the house, the house, like we're talking about the house tour. They go out to the pool and they have a whole pool party. We'll talk about more of that later. And this kind of ties into the women thing. At one point in the pool, you had Rachel, Emily Scrum, Jenny, all just standing next to each other in a pool. And it's just like these are the three most fit humans I've ever seen in terms of strong women. And they're all on a cast together. I don't know who the most fit one is because they all like were just looking ridiculous.
Yeah. It was crazy and funny. Yeah, there was so much
I
in
think
this special that I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
and Jody was right there next to them too, and I'm like, that's like the four like most like in terms of like the fit chick archetype, like that is them. Because I know I was doing my Rachel player preview, and I'm like, this is the first season Rachel's ever been on where it's not a guarantee that she's the most fit person, and it just like I'm not saying she isn't, but it's just not a guarantee because like that's how stacked this cast is.
Dare I say Jenny West is, just because that girl is like but then again, how could you say?
No, yeah, because I mean I've read this Jenny's like profile of what she eats in a day, and she's like, yeah, I eat salmon in this hour. I like she's like 8 meals a day, and it's like salmon and eggs, and it's all this like very specific like. And then I have my spinach, and then it's like she just on all angles of her body, she's jacked, she's fit, she's everywhere. And then you see Emily, just standing up, and you're like, I didn't know a human skeleton could be that way.
And then you pan over to Devin naked in the pool, and you're like, "I didn't know a human skeleton could be that way."
He's looking good. He's looking good.
No, I'm just kidding, yeah. Um, the pool scene was even fun in itself, like, I know this isn't on our list, but I think it kinda goes in with the house review as well.
Yeah.
Like, they just were having fun, and it was fun to see people from different eras, like, mingling and, like, stripping down in some instances.
A lot of male nudity, a lot, which was equality, in a way.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Who was it, Derek, that was like, "I've never seen so many naked men in a pool before in my life. It's usually the women."
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It seemed like they're having a fun time. I also noticed like because you had some people in their swimsuits, but then you also had I think a couple women were wearing like challenge branded swimsuits, which I don't know if they gave them there or if that's like part of their like they're gonna be wearing all season.
I noticed a lot of them wearing old uniforms, like from
Yeah, it was
previous
like
seasons.
but they weren't like I don't remember them wearing them on those seasons either necessarily. Like they
I
were
wish
like
I could have
challenge brand.
remembered who it was. There was somebody specifically, and I might say that was
Avery,
Kellyanne.
Avery was wearing something, and then I think Michelle was wearing like a
Michelle
some.
was wearing her Spas Lies or Allies top.
Oh,
That's
okay,
that's what
okay.
it was, and I'm like, "Okay." And I almost feel like, because 'cause I've read sometimes before that they take their uniforms back and then auction them off, sometimes they do not. I feel like they might have said like, "Hey, and if you wanna bring back any old uniforms you still have, like, to wear, that's cool, that's nostalgic." Uh, yeah, I thought the pool party was fun. We got a little bit of a glimpse of Michelle, like, fawning over Devin. She's like, "We started this together," which I
Yeah,
forgot that's who she picked first as her partner on.
yeah. Let's talk about showmances.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. You're good. Actually, it's a good transition. We'll just do that other one last, the second one
Okay.
last. So let's talk about showmances here. Michelle, she's into Devin. She's like, we started this together, and I'm like, well, you started it with him, I guess, because like Devin had been on our screen for a while, but I'll let you have this clip, Michelle.
Yeah. And I seeing them on Instagram, they seem very happy.
Yeah, I mean, they seem like a good match too. Because I don't know why they seem like a good match.
Well, just like, I am obsessed with the show. So if you're like, oh, he's a loser for looking at this, I have a whole separate Instagram account just to follow the challenge people. Like she posted or he posted like screenshots of their text, and he was like, we need to schedule a puzzle date. And I'm like, they would be people who would like get a glass of wine, or she with a glass of wine, him with a beer, and sit down with a puzzle and love every second of that. It's just very them. And I love it for them, actually.
That's great. And you know what? I was gonna say like I could see them having a drink together, but I'm not trying to like fuel any ideas that because some people said some very mean things about Michelle online.
Listen, I think the girl loves a glass of wine, and in moderation, do your thing. And I think that she
Yeah,
moderates.
yeah. Other potential showman stuff we saw going on, Olivia and Theo. Um, Olivia was very into Theo on the basis of he's tall.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm not surprised. Like, and I'm not saying that Olivia is not drawn to Theo because I think that she was and currently still is, as if you look at their Instagrams, they're dating. But I do feel like these people know they've got to have some type of storyline on this big season. And like, what a better way than to like find something attractive and talk about it day one? Like, the production's going to be like, ooh, like we like this.
and Olivia can't pick someone who's like a jabroni either. She's like, I need to make sure that my like if me and Nari's get in something, I need to make sure that my boyfriend could theoretically outrun your boyfriend.
Right. Yeah. We, okay. This happened early on in the episode, and I'm not sure if you picked up on it, but Brad mentioned he had his eye on someone.
Wait, you can't say how could I did I notice Brad's gigantic eyes literally like worshiping Emily? Yeah, they when they showed a montage of yeah, of course I fucking saw it.
And he was like, I don't know what she's been up to, but she's looking good. I'm like, is this foreshadowing? Like, has to be. If that,
Well, the way it's portrayed though is that it's like I assume it's going to be one-sided.
can you imagine?
Because
Well,
I mean,
yes.
because she was just like, oh hey Brad, and he's like, you're looking good, you're looking good. I mean, he like Brad, Brad's very attracted to Emily. She had a very interesting ring on her hand where I don't know. It's either one of two things. It's either a mood ring, or I figured out via asking a friend, it's a giant Native American like tribal piece on her hand, which I don't know which is weirder to have.
Yeah, yeah. Alan sent the picture to Zoe and I and said, what is this? And we're like, I don't know, but I hate it. Uh, she's just a quirky gal. I'll give her that. That would be something I'd be interesting to see play out and would give Emily a storyline aside from just being like a workout freak. We obviously like this isn't showmance. Like Horacio and Reese are together, Cara and Polly are together.
Mhm.
But at the end of this episode, not to bounce around, we do get a larger trailer, and I won't talk about anything else aside from the fact that we do see some people making out.
Yeah, and you know what? We see stuff online, you see stuff in the trailer. Naya was literally talking about the idea of politicking to further herself in the game, and when she does, they pan in on the two people who, I mean, you see in the trailer. We're just gonna say it right here, because we're over an hour into this podcast that we thought we were gonna do for 20 minutes, but
Yeah,
we're having a good time. Um, Pans in on Josh and Kyland, and those are two people who are always down for a hookup themselves too. So
yeah, gonna be interesting.
you really just you don't care about a Kyle and Nye hookup that much, do you?
I do actually, because
Okay.
going into the season, people were saying that he was still with another famous reality TV star that have had like an on again, off again secretive relationship, which I get having a secretive relationship. Uh, but it raises the question because I know the UK people frequently say, I get a hall pass when I film, I'm making a TV show. It makes me wonder if Common did have a girlfriend at home, if that was the stipulation. because the same thing happened on 39. He was allegedly had a girlfriend and the same girlfriend, and he was getting with Melissa.
Who might have had a boyfriend who was looking after her child.
Oh my God, messy as anything. Um, don't get me started on that, but I'm intrigued. I want to know which one happened first, Kylan or Josh. I have an assumption, but
Any other show masters are on the horizon here, or is that it?
that's probably it. I can't see any of these other people canoodling.
Mm-hmm. And got one more little detail we want to talk about, and that is we've been talking about it to this point, and that is the fact that Amanda Garcia is a star. When she was on this cast, people were like, "Why is this layup here? Why is this person who's like she's never been to a final here?" And you watch you watch this launch special, and you know why. Because Rachel Robinson, the woman who's given the toast, who's talking about all the strong women, she says, "You're the person I wanted to meet the most. When I watch this show, you're the most entertaining person. I've always wanted to meet you." Um, on top of that, she has beef with Tori, where Tori, like, it's not one sided. It's obviously not one sided because Tori's throwing shade at her, and then she has a moment with Cara Maria that's like the main character of the show, where they're like bonding and like stuff's going on there. Like, Amanda controls so much power in this house without ever winning anything.
Absolutely. And I want to add into that before we talk about these maybe a little bit more. We also see her having a conversation with Devin where he is saying like, I want to be loyal to you. People mistake that Tori is his ride or die. I mean, she technically was. And we might not have seen it completely on Spies, Lies, and Allies, but I think Devin realizes what an asset Amanda can be to his game, just numbers wise. She had that. You're right. Tori was mouthing off to Horacio about Amanda. Like, you look just upset. Gets lawyers involved. Uh, the car thing, though, like, I know that after USA 2, like, Amanda had tweeted, like, we'll see what happens next season if I'm with her, whatever. Uh, Here's my hot take. Amanda still hates Cara Maria. In fact, Cara's like, when they're having their conversation, she's like, and I was annoying. Amanda's like, yeah, hilarious. Here's what I love. This girl went into that house with virtually no allies. Okay. Maybe Casey, because there were some conversations kind of seen in the background. Uh, Devin, that's about it. She is going around this house. You see her, like strong women are coming up to her themselves. And she goes to Cara, listen, my enemy's enemy is my best friend. Cara, we're going to be besties. I'm getting excited because I love Amanda. Like, just so good. And when she apologizes for wishing death on her horse, I'm like, this is such a full circle moment. Thank you for flashing back to the clip.
And you know what's crazier too is that she still made a joke at it in the end. She's like, "Car buried her horse. We could maybe bury stuff." She kind of, and I look, I got a little bit in trouble online at one point for making fun of Amanda making fun of that horse online. I'll hand up. That's on me. Amanda just doubles down right here. She doesn't even fully commit to the apology, and it had me dying laughing.
I just thought it was expertly done. And I don't know if when you watched it, you heard Devin scream, no, 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 when they started their conversation. Like he thought this was already drama night one. Amanda's like, no, this is me doing my stuff. I would love to see how this pairing works. It even further makes me upset that Ashley's not there. And this is not me, it's just the Ashley stand. This is just a viewer that like those three really could have come together because Cara and Ashley are obviously close now, or at least supportive of one another.
There's the scene with Rachel too, the original scene where she's like, just like, "I've always wanted to meet you" type stuff. It's her and Tina, and you can see Rachel and Tina's eyes are very much like, you are, if Veronica's not here, you are our third mean girl because you fill that role. You are that person. You're the same height almost. Like, you are our third mean girl. And Anissa's standing right there, and you could tell Anissa probably has a million thoughts about Amanda in her head from doing the shows with her, but she's trying to be like nice and civil because she's trying to be buddy buddy with her Jet Era 1 people.
Completely. Like you can see her like nodding her head, like, okay, I see what you're saying. And it's like, no, you're bitter. And you're questioning if it's going to behoove you and Tori to target her. there are lots of things that like are working towards something great. It just depends on how long some of these people can stay in the game. But by God, I hope Amanda makes it to the very end. I don't know.
I Even if not, I think this one episode is like, watch this episode if you don't understand why she's on this show. There's always those bands and artists where it's like this singer is your singer's favorite singer.
Yeah.
Like they might not be popular, but like she is Rachel's favorite reality star. I remember Wes, even when Amanda hated Wes would be like, I love Amanda so much watching her on my TV screen.
Uh, This is a tangent, but we're already here. I have the timestamp of the USA 2 episode where Wes says, whether you hate Amanda or love her, she is XYZ, which is reminiscent on Double Agents. He said the same thing about Ashley. One day I'll find those clips and put them together. But yeah, she's good TV. Like,
And she hates his guts too. That's like the funniest part too. And he's still like, this stuff is electric. He just can't.
yeah, she is a star. And I watched it thinking, like, am I just feeling like propelled feelings about Amanda because I like her already? Or is she really doing this right now? And she was really doing it. When you sent me the list of what we're going to talk about, I'm like, okay, I'm validated.
I mean, I've been like an Amanda fan since day one, and I tweeted at one point, like during the summer, I was like, who has been more important to the challenge, Amanda or Kayla? And I thought it would be, I honestly thought she might lose the poll, and then it was just 80-20 Amanda, and people were like, what has Kayla done compared to Amanda? It's just like, like, and there was a point in time where like Kayla was the number 2 woman on this show.
If Kayla hadn't gotten that fight on Final Reckoning, we would have Kayla back to back to back to back to back.
I was looking up Champs versus Stars 3, and they were drafting teams, and there was Cam, Ashley, and Tori, and she got drafted ahead of all of them.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing that was like on this show. There was a point where she was ahead of them within the household, within like the way they view things. So
Yeah.
yeah, Amanda's a star. Move into like the last part of the house. I will say it was killing me by the end of the party. You could see some people's eyes really sunken in because they've been partying for 6 hours at that point. Brad specifically, like when
Yeah.
they said let's go to the pool, and Brad's eyes have come down here almost to like the top of his beard.
Yeah. Well, the old people, like, they need the rest.
Even Bananas kind of said that at one point where he's like, "Oh, I remember on X's one, I asked Mark like, hey, do you want to work out?" And he's like, "No, I'll be sore tomorrow." And he's like, "What do you mean sore?" And now he's like, "Now if Horacio asked me to kick the ball around, I'm like, I can't do that." I just
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
Right before it ends, guess who strolls up in a cowboy hat? It's Jordan. If they're gonna have him stroll in at this time of night, why not just wait one more day?
I agree. I completely agree. And I know he explains why it was like he had other
Yeah.
obligations, but this type of edit and allowance for that to happen really makes it seem like they are viewing him as the best man, which
I,
he probably
yeah.
is. But like, we've had seasons before where CT comes in late, or like, even Bananas has come in late before. This is very much like, okay, it's about to be the Jordan show.
I was just laughing because he said he's a professional race car driver now, and unlike Luke, I don't follow people on Instagram on the show, so like sometimes I just like lose track of what they're doing. And I'm like, Jordan just has a new hobby every year. It's like, oh, you do motorcycles now. Oh, you do a fashion line now. Oh, you're an actor now. Oh, now you're a professional race car driver. Okay, fine, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, like, professional could just be that he got like $500 to do it. I don't know. I don't know if he's
Yeah.
like going to be in NASCAR in his lifetime, but I could be wrong. Mark my words. But I thought it was a good way to cap off the episode.
Yeah, for sure. And I like that they're counting his most recent win on World Championship, which should be counted, obviously.
Yeah.
He's got 4 titles, right? 4 or fucking.
Let's run them off real quick. X is 2.
Dirty 30,
Sure.
War of the Worlds 2, World Championships.
Okay. Is that it?
That's good. Yeah, that's it. He's made the finals of Ride or Dies. Well, Well, he won 3 in a row, and then he did Total Madness Lost, wasn't around for a while, and then
World
he
Championship.
won on Red or Dies. Yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah. And he does make that. I mean, he makes Era 3 like they look like a solid squad with Jordan. They're like obviously like a big threat. I mean, overall.
Yeah, I agree.
And now we're done. Like, I mean, like that's like we honestly, if we wanted to, we could probably talk for another hour about this episode if we wanted.
Right. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of like engagement tweet wise. I guess we'll be talking retroactively. There probably was a lot of engagement tweet wise, but I'm excited to read through them. I really am.
I'm excited for the season, and again, just come back to complaint. Why wasn't this episode 1? Move on from that though. We'll be back here to podcast next week with Zoe. Episode 1. We're gonna be excited for it. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get us. Season 40, baby.
Yeah, we're doing it.